All right, welcome H Radio 223 part-timers to another lesson right here on Core Campus virtually. Again, please, I'm gonna just run cycle repeat the apology for the switch around because, as I said in the group, man, I just the public holiday confused me in the sense that I just jumped and mixed it to the third years and you guys upside down. So this will definitely be a virtual week, and then next week I will be seeing you in class. All right. What I'm going to do, as I mentioned before, is only cover 58 and 59 this week, right? Where we are currently in a new sect, or say, yeah, it's a subsection of our learning, which is promotions and team builders, executions and strategies, part two of nine. Where are we getting this one? So this is so today's lesson, as you can see, 17 slides, but a lot to discuss in between. Definitely, obviously, going to include a video or two, right? This is from Geller's book, Beyond Powerful Radio, and that's chapter 29, The Sound of the Story. So page 343 to 372. All right. So, what is a radio promotion? If we have to just kind of lean back and think of what you've heard before already and what you can immediately connect to this definition of what a promotion is. You listen to a radio station, and it is basically a competition, right? It's us being able to promote a certain giveaway, a certain competition, a certain event that's happening, a certain quote unquote activation that the station is running. I want to say activation because I haven't really delved into what an activation is right now, but I want to keep it quite simple, right? So anything that is going to elevate the station's identity, its brand, wherever it might be. Like I say, it might be on air or online, or once again off air, sorry, on air, right? Or in person, right? So, for example, including outside broadcasts and what might happen over there is all part of promotion, right? Promotion. So not a radio promotion, but so promotion is anything that puts a word out about your station and it gets people talking about and listening to your product. Your product is the station. What is the station made of? Well, shows, it's DJs. It's added value products like podcasts and and it's advertising and it's music and it's news and everything like that, right? Everything to do with the product as a whole, we would like to be able to approach it and promote it, right? So events such as publicity stunts, which we've seen many times before, if we can think like back on some stunts that, for example, really caught our eye. A big one is always and has always been something that Prime Media used to run a while ago called The Fugitive, right? Which would include a person that would play this obviously like made up character, the fugitive, right? And wherever he was, so he would then talk to the DJs in this like very kind of monotonic mechanical voice that was clearly processed and produced to sound like he's some guy that's covering his voice up, almost not the last point of reference or whatever nearest point of reference I can give you. It's like when someone's, I don't know, kidnapped someone or is ransoming something for money or whatever it is, and you hear that, oh, whatever. Yeah, anyway, that, right. Anyway, the point is that the fugitive would then speak to different DJs on different shows and then give the listeners clues as to where he was to be found. If you caught the fugitive, you would actually win I was going to say, yeah, just a whole lot of money, right? And so it would become pandemonium because let's say there was one activation, sorry, one part of the competition there was there in Sandton Square. And the fugitive was like somewhere in the top tower, was one of the two, or I think there's only one tower, right? Sandton Tower. And there were so many people like within the actual square, and there was chaos. It was basically a safety risk because they have to catch the fugitive to be able to get that money. And And these, all that chaos obviously caused news coverage, this, that. There was a lot of talk and there was a lot of, word of mouth and this and media. I'm saying social media coverage for it, blah, blah, blah. It was great. And so it really worked for the station. And it's not an idea that was original. It's not an original idea. It's actually worked really well in many different countries around the world, right? But it did its job in terms of really promoting the station, promoting each one of those shows, promoting something that definitely involved something almost, well, it was fun, competitive, whatever it may be, definitely interactive, which kind of elevates to a digital. Almost like how I think if I'm, yeah, I think, yeah, I'm remembering this correctly, right? The way that you used to catch Pokemon, right? You would catch the fugitive like that, right? So there was even an app, say, immersed angle to it as well. Anyway, so that's an example right there of just one of the many endless promotions that stations across the world, and including this country and the station right in your own neighborhood, have run, right? Promos, on the other hand, are spots or segments that you run on your station that support your own programming. So radio promotions have two goals. One is to draw the listener in and to get the current listener to get new listeners in, and to get the current listeners to tune in more often and for longer. Time spent listening, TSL, which then now you're going to see. Remember, it ties in with being able to build our cumulative numbers when we look at our RAMs, etc., etc. Because we really, as someone that is listening for longer, well, guess what? You know it, right? Will be more likely to be exposed to adverts, or more likely to be someone that's maybe transitioning between a P2 to a P1 listener. And so this is good news for the station, right? So when budgets get tight, the first thing to because is the marketing budget, right? And if you think of it fairly, what needs to be paid? Obviously, the employees need to be paid, the electricity needs to be paid, like the station needs some upkeep, obviously, like all the departments and their tools and whatever it may be, like computers and desks and this and that need to be paid for and again maintained. There's there's a whole bunch of bills that have to be, there's no choice, be paid first. And so this is why we can actually, and we do cut down a little bit on the marketing budget, because marketing in general isn't always about the money. Like why should a marketing campaign only be successful if you used a lot of money to roll it out, right? Someone that is so a good marketing specialist or whatever it is, and ties that into someone that understands radio really well and audiences well and can see different angles and avenues in which we can go and use free promotion or again paid, earned, owned, etc., right? Can actually work within a much lower budget, right? Than as opposed to a much higher one, right? A much bigger one. Because of financial situations at stations, the current trend in marketing and promotion of broadcast properties is to get results with a whole lot less. So it's about outthinking rather than outspending the competition, which is exactly what I said there, right? Before, listeners must be aware of your station to listen to it. So our presence is very important. You can have a great radio station, but if no one knows about it, no one listens to it, who cares? Agree? Right. So radio stations have to use contests, one, not to draw new listeners in, even though we said up there over here, it says to draw them in, but that's not our prime objective of a competition. A competition is to reward our current listener first, right? And people say, or people might think that competitions increase your numbers. They don't. They actually don't. Competition might bring people to the station, for example, and the numbers will go up for sure, for sure, for sure. But it won't keep them there, and so that's where the rest of the station and the brand itself and the product are very important. And so now you can put these two into context and how they make sense. So, all right, let's, okay. So, anyway, radio stations use these contests and integrated campaigns to get the word out about their product, what's happening, etc. Contesting is about fantasy. And listeners love to play. That's the thing. We got to give them a chance to also have some fun, also get some money or like a little, like I don't know, like a a voucher to something or a range of books or who knows, whatever. There's so many things we can give away, but people love money first, foremost, sidebar, right? Creativity and passion are key elements to powerful radio promotions at stations with limited budgets. So we might only be able to give away an experience or a trade-off agreement with a certain shop, like a retailer. They might want to, let's say, get some free advertising if they can, if in exchange we can give away like 1,000 Rand vouchers to this particular shop every single day for a week on the drive show, right? Okay. And so we will decide that's not bad. Even though we don't really make money, we definitely are we're definitely portraying a station that is immersive within its community. We definitely are rewarding our listeners. We've got things again, things are quote unquote happening, right? Creativity and passion are key elements to powerful radio promotions at stations with limited budgets. As I said there before, your own station's airwaves and websites are powerful promotional tools that cost you absolutely nothing to promote the station itself on, right? First of all. So, for example, if we look at digital media, which I'm sure we're going to a bit later, and how that can obviously and how it is definitely now it's a currency within promotions specifically and advertising for our clients as well. Like essentially, it doesn't cost us anything to like upkeep a great social media account, right? It doesn't. It's just effort and it's some obviously there's obviously manpower and this and that, whatever, which we pay their salaries for anyway, as it is. So, like hosting someone on our site, like a client or service, whatever, doesn't cost us anything, but for them, the quote unquote return on investment, which is not necessarily money, right, but awareness or maybe, is definitely valuable to them. So we obviously should be charging them for it, right? Branding your station as the branding of a consumer product is keeping your promise. And we know that, right? Listeners like to know what to expect when they tune in to you. We promise you a great product. We're giving you a great product, right? Excuse me, right? So, for example, let's look at the station logo. You've seen many logos and they've changed maybe over time, sometimes erratically, sometimes out of nowhere, because maybe you haven't been paying attention to that particular station, etc., etc. But the logo is essential to what the brand is interpreted as, right? So certain colors, as we learned back in school, represent certain things like red will represent passion or what is it like white is kind of like purity and clarity and think like blue is serenity and there's a lot more there are a lot more descriptions or descriptive words that come along with each one of those color selections when someone is building a logo up. But I'm not going to go through all of them. You remember why. Now the thing is again picking those colors for the right for the right reasons should actually advocate your entire ethos, the mission, the vision statement of the station, right? And really play towards what your target or core listener will respond to and process a little bit better, right? A lot more easily when associating that particular logo with your station product. So don't underestimate the attraction of many listeners in hearing their name on the radio. Sorry, I forgot the one. Permanence is building a habit of listening to you and your audience. And obviously, again, there's the second point. And money isn't always necessary for a successful promotion, and planning is everything. So make use of the promotional checklist that you'll find in Beyond Powerful Radio on page 358. television advertising campaigns are affordable only by piggybacking on an advertiser's promotion budget. So let's say someone comes to us, like an app, or whatever it is, they are going to pay. Like within that, what we quote them and what they do pay the station for covers like really expensive lines of advertising. So, for example, billboards, so out of home advertising is expensive. And a number of other ways of also advertising are really expensive, but ideally we don't want to pay for it, right? So, and we won't, right? So use your own station and website to promote obviously what you are doing. Again, it costs nothing to add. I'm saying to add a promotional banner or an advert or this or that to a site that is already being paid for in terms of like a service provider and a URL and blah, blah, blah. And we're paying our developers and our content creators for that, etc., etc. So it's there already. Why not use it, right? And we create powerful parody songs, for example, for musically inclined listeners to get your point across in a fun way, as just please an example, right? So, anyway, getting into listeners' minds, that's page 345, by using something called Sappho Shrimp. The acronym is ludicrous, in my opinion, because it means nothing and it has nothing to do with radio. But it's called that because what it stands for is very important and has a lot to do with radio. So please remember what is important to them, the radio listener, what makes a profound impression. So let's go through Sappho Shrimp. Sex, right? Achievement, fantasy, outrage, spectacle, humor, rescue, injustice, money, patriotism, and scandal. So I want to see, so make sure that whether or not she actually delves into some of them. Uh, no, not at the moment. So I'm going to just give you a bit of a better idea, and I'm quite sure because I remember from last year we did look at them individually, so it's going to come up, right? So, for example, let's look at how we can use this one to create content, and then from that content we might be able to also build promotional content or promotional opportunities, right? So, for example, let's say looking at money, right? The obvious thing is making sure that we cover money matters, and definitely money and currencies and clout, whatever it may be, in our economic infrastructure, whatever it may be, right? So those are the basic ones that I know that you also thought of immediately, right? So we can definitely develop features, we can definitely get banks involved, we can definitely get service providers involved, whatever it may be, right? But also we can give away money, right? We can give away money because money is the best prize that anyone can get. So I'm just going to extend a little bit more of the explanation to what is in your book, so that you can think a little bit more holistically once again when you do think about, for example, Sappho Shrimp and again promotions within the radio spectrum. Okay, so once again, we're looking at competitions. Sorry, just drink some water. Okay. Competitions, man, money, 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 money. In a rich man's world, right? Okay. That's what we want. But also scandal and patriotism. Patriotism's easy. That one's easy. Like, because we can build so much on around being South African, right? And our culture and our people and, just a very, very unique approach to life and what we do, from, let's say, from province to province, from town to town, great things that the people in this country are doing for other people in this country, or people that are making a name for South Africa by doing great things that are like Nobel Peace Prizes or number ones in, like our sports teams winning, anything that has to do with patriotism. I think you understand, right? And so we can go on with sex, achievement, fantasy, outrage, again, spectacle, humor, rescue, injustice, money, patriotism, and scandal. So keeping your promise, right? Doug Harris, an expert on branding radio stations, mentions that branding is often spoken of in hushed tones, right? So as if it were a mystical phenomenon, right? So in the world of broadcast, he's not wrong. He's not wrong at all, right? In the world of broadcasting, a brand is actually just it's a promise. Our brand says to the listener, this is what we're all about. This is what you can expect to hear on our station. This is where you can see us. This is where you can feel us. This is what, and so we need to deliver on what it is that we have promised to them, right? The brand is all encompassing. Every time a listener encounters a radio brand, that station's promise must be fulfilled, right? So if a listener lured by the safe and fun for the whole world, whole family promise tunes into hear a dirty joke or even something slightly inappropriate, man, that promise is broken. So again, because we sell it and normally sell it according to their tagline that most stations have. Some taglines are very vague, so it's not necessarily only that. It really has to do with that vision statement and mission statement that we promise as. And so we listeners don't have the time to go and read the type of thing. You'll hear it in our brand, like let's say our imaging, for example. You'll always hear some kind of tagline, something that really reflects what the station is trying to say about themselves. All this stuff is a big old promise. Doug Harris breaks the process down as follows. One, we have to define a target audience. Because we covered this in the beginning of the year, I know that you're familiar with what we're talking about right now, right? Target audiences, RAM, surveys, that type of stuff, right? Identify the emotional needs of your target. So give me a sign as well, right? Give me a sign that you understand. Like you know that you understand me as a listener. Give me a sign. Product, so product, performance, and promotion together. Promote the station's image as well as its product. So, so the product is what the station gives you. You understand? So, like you would go and you would again. Let's take like a fast food place like Burger King, right, or Pizza Hut, or whatever it may be, KFC. The image of the brand is KFC, and it's so much bigger than just the fried chicken that we buy from there, right? KFC has a certain feel and a certain message and a certain whatever it is image that they want to keep or should I say portray to a consumer. And so we need to promote both and they need to be aligned with one another. Build passion, emotion, and listener loyalty, right? How do we do that? Because by delivering on our promises. That's the thing, right? So when someone is invested, if a listener is invested, that will culminate to passion, emotion, and loyalty, right? Involve your listeners as much as you can. So, some stations involve listeners less than other stations. The key or the rule of thumb actually is to always involve your listeners. That might not have to be with call outs, just involve them online, involve them by telling them something that's helpful. Make sure that you are in their heads as opposed to someone just kind of like 50 or 100 feet down the road, whatever it may be, right? Okay, ensure that people who are not participating will still enjoy hearing the contest, for example, that you are running, right? A contest, normally, even if it's at its most basic, right? For example, all you're going to do to win this prize is just like WhatsApp your name or send your name and surname ID number to this particular number, 32999, right? And we're going to pick someone out at random and call you and give you this big old like 5,000 Rand in cash prize, right? So why would someone else not want to hear someone else getting something, and being happy and being ecstatic and that, you understand? So even at the very lowest kind of like I'm going to say ripped, it's ripped to its core version of a contest, listeners like to hear other people being happy, right? Okay, getting something. But okay, if it is a little bit slightly more complicated than that, which most competitions are, you have to do something or to send something or to be somewhere, whatever it may be. Like it has to be audibly entertaining, right? For that other listener to enjoy. Promoting the news, right? Okay, and a scoop for a scoop. So I'm not going to look. I'm not going to pretend I understand what the scoop means, right? But I'm gonna. No. Okay. Okay, let me use it in this way because I'm going to link it to the news, and I think this is actually what they mean. So when we are looking like so obviously a scoop is when you get first what is it like first accessibility or first hands or first whatever it is to a certain story before any other journalist, whatever it may be, right? So we can go and we can interchangeably use that that notion of or how great our news or what happening is in the news, then and tie that in with, let's say, our marketing or our PR. Awesome. We can scoop, let's say, audience attention, scoop kind of the way that they're impressed with the station because obviously how we are definitely ahead of the pack. That's what that should be interpreted as. Okay, the pros and cons of contests. So designated caller content, right? So content, right? So in other words, we have content that is specifically it's tailored for our composite listener. That's so that we know that they will have the answers to or they will be able to have a good answer, even if it's personal and unique or whatever it may be. So, a designated caller content piece, right? Trivia contest, that's easy, like question answer. A lot of people kind of still enjoy that, even though you can go quickly, go Google stuff, whatever it may be. We've obviously reshuffled that into like a 30-second, 15-second, 10-second to answer as many questions as you can. People like that because, and also people enjoy participating alongside the contestant with because we like to, again, take part, right? Recall contest. So, again, okay. Okay, oh, yeah, I don't know. If you have to recall a contest, um, that's not a good thing, right? So if you're gonna that, in other words, that is interpreted as having to take like withdraw the contest from um, from its programming, right? So you have to actually rip it out for a certain reason, right? But okay, there we go. Pros and cons. Contest, maybe something happened. Someone broke kind of a competition acts rule. Who knows, whatever it may be, right? Email, fax, or snail mail contests are not going to help you at all, right? And so the thing is, we have to think about, like, for example, a direct message interaction or a caller interaction, so live interaction, or even push it to obviously online, where we do have a lot of particularly online oriented contests and content that work really well there. Performance-based contests are really unfair. So they're deemed unfair because the thing is that who's to say this is what happens. So before we're allowed to do this, in other words, for example, like the DJ says to you, okay, so I need you to tell me a funny joke. For example, you'll call in, you tell the joke, another person, they'll laugh, whatever it is, or they'll say, oh, boo, whatever it is. But let's say more than one person makes the DJ laugh, right? The DJ then has a bias of their own because their own humor is unique to, let's say, a more fair, um, uh, I think you understand what I'm saying to you. Like, for example, I might find slapstick comedy really funny, right? But that doesn't mean I'm the last word on comedy, right? Just because I know that. So what happens is that the DJ starts to use bias to decide who is a winner and who are you to say. So what happens is that performance-based contests are now monitored very carefully because under the Competitions Act, if it's unfair to others that are listening and have entered, right? I'm saying in the selection of a winner, then you're in trouble, right? So think about that, and that is going to definitely put you in trouble, right? So, and it makes sense as well. So some people work around, I don't want to carry on about to forever because I'm going to just carry on, right? But let's say some stations do this, okay? They work around that particular act and that particular law by, for example, right, having like let's say doing like a performance-based call out Monday to Thursday. So they get like quote unquote sub winners. They give them like $500 if you're a winner on any single one of those days. And then what they'll do is they'll do another one Friday to have five winners, and they would also put those five finalists into a random draw, which then makes it obviously appeases the legal implications of being able to choose a winner because out of any one of them, it's only fair to leave it up to quote unquote not chance, but like a piece of software application, whatever it is, that'll choose the number 1 to 5, or there you go, you enter the numbers, so the names, and then they'll pop out a specific person, right? And that is how they work around it. Can you buy an audience? Well, a powerful promotion can initially bring them there. As I said to you, they're not going to stay. Even for the best competition with the biggest prize ever. After the competition is done and they don't like your station as is, then they're going to leave. Right. Tips for creating really great, powerful radio promotions. One is definitely ask a little more, right? Less is actually truly more. So when I say ask, one, I'm going to take in because I want to again approach holistically. First of all, ask the people around you that you work with and your team or whatever it is before you even run the promotion or even like finalize what the promotion's mechanism is or whatever it may be, right? Go please and ask other people whether it makes sense or not. Okay. Because we ran, I keep using this is the worst one, man. It doesn't happen every day, but once in a blue moon, you get a really, it's a stupid idea. So, for example, we're giving away tickets to Rihanna, right? Okay, and the thing is that we as DJs cannot do anything but what the marketing department tells you to do on your brief, right? So it said there, ask the listeners, right? What would they do to get a Rihanna ticket? So it sounds fine-ish on paper, very basic, very easy, right? And then obviously we'll pick a winner, but how do we pick a winner? And also the thing is that the marketing department didn't think it through because now people are saying, well, you know what? I would strip naked. That's fine. That seems realistic, right? And then another one says, I would challenge like Mike Tyson. Then another one would say, oh, you know what? I would fly to the moon and back, like just like to retrieve a moon rock to give to the station as a present for a Rihanna ticket. So now we're getting ridiculous, right? Okay, so because you can say, well, I would go and conquer hell. That was just as dumb, sorry, as any other completely fantastical response that we allowed them. We said, give us what you would do. What would you do? Anything. That was basically the answer is anything. I'm even getting upset thinking about it again. It was out of control. Because here's the problem, right? We then have to pick a winner out of all of those. Now, who's to say, this is where the bias comes in. Who is to say that, let's say, going to the moon is better than, for example, let's say, I would go nude like on a rugby field or whatever it is, like we have those people that run. Like we should say the one is better than the other. And so we immediately got in trouble for that. But we obviously flagged it because the very first night we found problems because in that particular point, I was an online producer, I saw it on air, and then I had to pick someone, and then the presenter, Stacey, had to go and announce one, and then we both look like fools, really. And so, which immediately the department to retract that, recall that entire competition for a moment, rethink it, and then we changed it to go out and do something that will prove that you will go do stuff that shows us you want the prizes, the VIP tickets to run, right? Double tickets. And so then we had some great people doing weird things and great things and wonderful things and charitable things, whatever it is, right? And we were easily able to choose someone every single day. We had to do it for a number of weeks as well, right? Okay, anyway, let's truly more. They remember. Okay, so the listeners will remember. And when designing a promotion, always ask yourself how it can be made bigger, right? Don't outsmart yourself, so don't overthink it, so that you actually lock yourself up in a bit of like you could be cyclic. In other words, now we're sitting in a bit of a problem because we haven't thought of the whole rollout of this competition, or you could suddenly hit like this brick wall and be like, oh damn, now what do we do now? Okay, anyway, the details, the payoff, the remember to get paid. In other words, give them what they need to get, right? The promo is better than the bit, and all promotions are equal. Every single thing that is promoted on your station, one is not better than another. All of it equates to a client, and a client pays money, right? And everyone's money is good. Approaching television. I'm going to just kind of fly over this one. Think of how you can break through thousands of emails that one can receive, and don't frustrate if you call a TV news desk and they are brisk. In other words, kind of rude and short, right? Get a feel for what plays on a station that you are pitching to. So you understand? Please, I'm going to reword a lot of this stuff to actually make sense. Okay. So let's say, so we're going to now approach a television station, so not a radio station, right? To ask for the right person that you'd like to, pitch this idea that perhaps maybe you could collab with or whatever it may be, have different media partners, right? Pitch things that dovetail. So in other words, a type of joint used to fix two pieces of wood firmly together with the day's news, right? Keep TV posted regularly and know another station's obviously deadlines. Start your events on time, plaster your call letters everywhere, no pictures. At at actual events that can fall away because now we're all about media, right? I'm saying sharing social media, that type of thing. Be TV friendly, so make sure that your idea now is translated and mutated and restructured for something that is TV audience related, TV magnetics, that type of stuff. Anyway, if your radio station is co-owned with a TV station, that is great. Then all the red tape is actually is something you can just jump over, right? It's non-existent. Anyway, so when you let's say you are let's say a smaller station, news station, or whatever it may be, it doesn't matter, community station, you get like a big client, let's say like a Mercedes Benz, or for example, let's say what's a big, I don't even know what big hotel chains there are. I don't actually, so I want to move away from that. Like a Discam or a Pick and Pay or big, right? So they've obviously had a lot of obviously business, a lot of customers, whatever, but they also have very like legacy names, right? Legacy brands that have been around forever. And you decide you are able to somehow get a deal with them, for some kind of activation competition, blah, 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 etc., etc. Right. You are 100%, never mind that you are going to anyway get more exposure, right? You should know that once you have this deal agreed upon or with whatever it may be, right? This here is what you should use to your advantage to kind of again bet like large in your or like large, and that's not a word, like make your audience larger, right? Enlarge, there's the word, enlarge your audience. Okay. Doug Harris suggests doing a little homework to find out which advertisers in your market spend the most money. Find a way to include one of the station personalities or a station logo in the client's advertising. Find a way. Want to be able to have the kind of brand cohesiveness, right? So the client might like to use one of your station personalities as like obviously like a brand ambassador. Sure, sure. I've seen that many, many times. They'll pick the right personality that matches their brand and obviously like aligns in with their ethos and stuff. And this is a way to get exposure for your radio stations, call, letters, logo, personalities, and so on at no cost to you. In fact, they actually have to pay, for example, a personality to be a brand ambassador, as you know this already. So there could be a brand website, an online newsletter. I'm saying you should do that, right? Okay. As well as also include yourself in their current, let's say, expanded media. Those cost-effective examples of other people's media will enhance and amplify your marketing attack. So, Doug Harris's action plan for success. One, each radio department should prepare a list of goals, needs, and then wants. And two, you got to create an 18-month calendar beginning with the start of the next month. So, because you don't know the future, I'm saying everything about the future, you know exactly which things are definitely set in stone. I think I've mentioned before in a previous lecture. I'm not sure where, right? So when we are doing this calendar in like the marketing department, we're going to definitely have the following things there, right? Every single year. National, regional, we're going to get to religious as well. Regional or local events and holidays, religious observations, first day of school, university classes, etc. Days when banks, schools, and public offices might actually be closed. Major sporting events happening that year. Well, 18 months, year and a half. Celebrity birthdays of interest that only are of interest to the target listener. Station events or anniversaries. Special station programming. Ratings period. Right. So the rating period. So ratings periods means, for example, let's say we're looking at, let's say, um, I was going to say four, but because I'm going on an American thing, there's different ratings for different seasons, right? Um, we work maybe in quarters, so we look at, let's say, the first quarter of the year, second, third, fourth quarter. In America, they would do like specifically spring and fall, marketing strategies, etc., etc. When it comes to, for example, their media, their entertainment, etc., their movies, their series, etc. Okay, I've said etc., etc. I can say it one more time, etc. Right. Step three, marketing, programming, and on-air staff should meet to decide which of these calendar dates are most important. Obviously, how the station will tie into them. Before, calculate your budget for each promotion or promotional period, because you're going to anyway have to go get that approved, right? Beforehand, defend and explain your budget by writing a story to go with your proposal. To who? Obviously, like the station management, right? When asked to reduce the budget, right, a marketing manager may wish to show the narrative to other department heads to, play along nicely. Review your progress and your spending every single month. The most common mistakes in marketing can be avoided by doing two simple rules. Plan in advance and put everything in writing. Document every single thing. Use your own airwaves and website as promotion because you have them. So you can create some anticipation for things that are coming that you also want to have got in your calendar. So the station's calendar, right? Create expectations, pick the highlights, and then seize any type of opportunities that you find along the way. Opportunities are known as good risks, right? So it is when everything is going fine and dandy, nothing's going wrong. So you're not acting out of as a reaction to something that is threatening your business or your bottom line, etc. Like an opportunity is called a good risk, right? So innovate and see where you can go and do something new. It's gonna either work or it might not, right? But it wasn't called for and it's not quote unquote necessary at, let's say, at a benchmark level. Yeah, promo points. So let's say News Talk Radio. Teasers and promos are best when they are short. Okay, so cross promote like you actually mean it. In other words, one show is now going to cross promote to, they're going to talk about a competition on another show, right? And maybe even the competition runs on 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 shows, right? We want to be able to make sure that listeners are in tune if they want to be at different times of the day. But also, this is good team camaraderie. It's great for there to be one, or there mustn't be an ego like, oh no, like I'm not going to promote another show or another DJ or whatever, their content or whatever it may be. It's silly, right? Okay. Cross promote like you actually mean it. Do it yourself. So get your own outside press, and you can use your own website to promote events, cultivate people of influences, like influence in the real world. So throughout stale bread, it is tempting to use great promos over and over again, but don't give into that temptation, because really, if we can remember the last time that you did this year, then you have a problem. So we do have recurring competitions that might happen once every 3 years, once every 2 years, once every 5 years. You understand? And you know why we do bring them back? Because the listeners loved it and it was great for our clients, right? So stay up for it. So if you cut your promos last night before you leave this situation, there is a danger of sounding tired and unenthusiastic. After all, you've just spent 3 hours on air. So you want to go home, you're holding your car keys, trying your best to just get out of there. You're not giving it a good effort. Remember, you have to do your job. If you are tired, for example, just say that. It's so it's so basic when you want to say now, but it works. Just be like, look, home will always be there. Okay, it will be there later. I can sleep in my bed. I am going to sleep a bit later. Let me just quickly go for like have a bit of coffee, take a bit of a half-hour break, reset the station, calm down, whatever it is, regain my energy and my, whatever it is that passion. Let me go in there and do that properly, right? So when you work with pre-recorded elements, make them absolutely perfect. Now, I'm not going to go through Fabi again because we've done Fabi many times, right? In fact, I think you have been tested on it in the first and second year in some other way. But I am going to just pause for the moment and find, I'm just going to the video. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Short video.
One of the stars every year here at Radio Days is Niall Power, and I'm not just saying that because he's from Ireland like me. He's from Beat 102, 103 in Ireland, and you were talking about some of the best on-air promotions and competitions around the world. You picked 10. Can you give me 3 ones that really impressed you?
Okay, very quickly, 3. Number 1, people might have seen Greg and Alad from Radio 1 yesterday, so we featured them in the presentation, and they're doing some really exciting stuff in terms of what I call event radio. Not necessarily about prizes or competitions, but they're making noise on breakfast with stuff like pasta pasty, hide and seek, and the one we featured was the escape room, where Greg was locked in an escape room, and as his listeners helped him to get out of it, it took 30 hours in the end. So a really simple idea, 5k door drop, 5 grand on a doorstep, Doorbell rings on air, and you have 30 seconds to get to your door, and if you don't, the money disappears.
Wow.
And then obviously we had some stuff from Ireland as well, so we'll give a shout out to the 98 FM crew who have done the Best of Dublin Awards for the last few years. And it's basically about celebrating the heroes of the city, taxi drivers, barmen, barbers, but they get huge buy-in from their listeners and people right across the city. They had over 250,000 votes for it this year. So a real different range of stuff. Promotions nowadays, not necessarily about your standard win 10 grand, or, you know, people are thinking differently in terms of augmented reality, event radio, and that kind of, you know, buy-in from listeners.
Yeah, you were saying this year the difference from previous years is that a lot of these events and competitions have been focused around a big event,
Yeah.
a big call to action.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, the Radio 1 is a great example of that, but even the Best of Dublin, our one at Beach that we featured the last couple of years was the coffin lock-in, where we're trapping people in coffins for an hour.
Are you still doing that?
We're still
You're
doing
still
that.
locking people in coffins?
Yeah, but what we did this year to bring it on a little bit was we got our hands on the most haunted building in Ireland for 10 days, Loftus Hall on the Hook Peninsula.
Wow, that's a freaky place.
It sure is. The devil himself appeared there back in the day, Colin,
Okay.
and that's where we hosted it. So we had coffins in the most haunted
Did you do
building
the
in
show?
Ireland. Yeah, we were broadcasting live
Because
from
Niall
there.
hosts a very popular morning show on Beat, so you went live from the haunted.
Yeah, it was pretty spooky on Halloween Day, I can tell you.
Real hauntings, you think?
Yeah, well, look, it's a place that has chills every time you walk inside. So, yeah, look, it's about thinking differently with your promotion.
This man thinks differently. Niall Power, thank you so much.
That's great. I'll even subscribe. Oh, wait, I'm fine. Never mind. Okay, I'll leave it there. And I'll see you in class.